Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, we look at the need for better changing facilities for parents of disabled children. We hit the streets to ask you whether air shows should take place over built-up areas. And if you missed the arrival of this beauty in Grimsby, then where were you? We meet the crew of Alexander von Humboldt II. Welcome to Estuary News. I'm Emma Lingard, but first, here's the news headlines.
People in Scunthorpe have been asked for their feedback on plans for a new waste transfer station. They went on display at the Civic Centre in the town. The proposed station, costing over £6 million, planned for Midland Road, would collect waste from the whole of North Lincolnshire instead of it going to landfill. The waste would then go to Teesside, where it would be burnt to produce electricity. Nolan Bennett from North Lincolnshire Council says the amount of waste going to landfill was the inspiration behind this project.
Yeah, basically that's what happened to all of our waste at the moment. It went to landfill because that was historically for us the cheapest way of dealing with it, but due to various different environmental regulations and obviously our responsibility to move away from landfill, we need to do something about that, and this is the most economic and also the best solution environmentally that we found.
Pickering Road Community Orchard is urging vandals to pick up a spade as volunteers instead of damaging fruit trees. It comes 2 weeks after a bench was set fire to and 6 apple trees were scorched. The orchard donates produce to hospitals, residential homes and charities.
It's so silly to spend your time going round setting fire to things when this is for the good of all of the community, because all of these trees are grown organically and they all taste different. They've all got different histories. We keep some very old varieties dating back to the 1700s, and we also keep some very new varieties. So there's so much to learn.
The National Fishcraft Championships comes to Grimsby this weekend. The competition involves fish crafters from around the country processing fish against the clock. Held at Cleethorpes Leisure Centre, this year the event coincides with the World Seafood Congress. Organiser Gary Hooper says the competition can get very heated.
It's really tough for the competitors. Some of these guys have got 40 years experience, but you can still see the nerves showing out when they first stand up in front of the block. There'll be upwards of 200 or 300 people in the audience watching. It's quite a nerve-wracking experience. To process fish, it takes a lot of skill. It's something that's learned over a number of years. It's generally passed on from father to son in independent businesses, and the big supermarkets that are entering also have training programs set up to train their people properly.
And that's the latest from the news.
A new novel, The Prospect of the City, has just been released, and it tells the tale of the Great Fire of London in 1666. I spoke to author Eamon Griffin about his novel and the inspiration for it. So, Eamon, your book, The Prospect of this City, which is your latest novel. Just give us a brief synopsis. What is this all about?
Okay, it's about the start of the Great Fire of London.
Okay.
So it's late August 1666, and a gentleman called Rufus Challis has been hired by the Dutch government to conduct a reprisal attack on London, because England had been at war with Holland through the summer of 1666, and Holland is at the minute on the losing end of things.
Okay.
In fact, the English sent a load of fire ships, burned down old wrecks into a Dutch port to Shelley, and that caused loads of devastation and chaos. And in the novel, at least, this is set up as a revenge attack on that.
Right.
So Challis comes to London with terrorism on his mind, and that's when the story starts.
Oh, why choose this particular part of history?
Well, we all know a little bit about the Great Fire of London. It's the kind of thing that often gets taught at Key Stage 1 and 2 at schools.
Yes.
There was an ITV drama about it last autumn as well. So we all kind of know about it. But looking into it, I thought it'd be a really interesting area to set a novel in, because having a look around, I couldn't find a book about it. Lots of history, but no fiction. So I thought, Right, okay, so no one's actually written a Great Fire of London novel, or at least not recently. And there are some Victorian ones. There's one called Old St Paul's by a chap called Harrison Ainsworth from the 1830s, that kind of stuff. But not a recent one anyway, not one in Smiths. So I thought, right, I'll write one.
And you have done.
And I have done, yeah. But looking into it, because the fire kind of stops on its own, there's no one climactic thing that sorts the fire problem out.
Okay.
So writing a novel about stopping the fire and saving the city doesn't really work, because London doesn't get saved. Pretty much everything inside the old medieval walls gets burned down.
Yes, yeah.
So the idea was, okay, if we can't write a novel about the end of the fire, what about the beginning?
Right.
And that set me on the trail of writing the book.
I see. So this is it, you were inspired by those events in history. Now the character of Chalice, from reviews that I've read, seems quite a nasty character, shall we say. It's not very, well, I don't know, he's not a man maybe you'd want to sit and introduce to your grandma, is he?
No, because he'd kill her.
Lovely.
Chalice is based on a real person.
Right.
A chap called Thomas Blood.
Right.
Now Thomas Blood, that's a bit of a that's an awkward name for a villain. You might as well call him Harry Bad and have done with it. So Chalice is a fictionalised version of Thomas Blood. I've changed some of his details, but I drew inspiration from reading a couple of biographies of what Blood got up to in the 1660s and 70s, and some of the other stuff I've added into him. But basically, he's a mercenary. He's a man for hire, but he's also got a very particular worldview. In short, he believes himself to be divinely inspired.
Right.
That the stuff that he does, however bad it is, he can justify it because he thinks it's God working through him.
Okay.
Which gives him license to do pretty much anything he wants.
It sounds like a psychopath.
Yes.
Would you say he is?
Certainly, he's a self-justifying psychopath. It doesn't also help that he's got an old injury and he's addicted to laudanum, to like an opium preparation.
Right.
And yeah, that gives him visions, and you know, that sort of perpetuates his madness, I suppose.
Oh, certainly interesting read already, isn't it? Now, the other thing that, sticking with Chalice, that most people have said when they reviewed it is that, are you going to do a follow-up to this with him in it? Are we going to see any more Chalice?
Well, if people like the book, if enough people buy it and there's a demand for it, then yes, I'll definitely write one.
Yeah.
I've got one in mind already. I've got a story sketched out. It's set about 5 years later, and both Chalice will return and the protagonist, the hero of the book, a chap called Tom Fariner,
right.
He'll be back in
He'll
this
be
as well.
back as well. Sounds intriguing. How long has it taken you to actually write this?
A couple of years. I did a PhD in creative writing while working in Grimsby. I did it sort of part-time distance learning through Lancaster University. So I was looking for a writing project to do as part of that because it was creative writing based. Mm-hmm. So I spent about 2.5 years writing the book, another year or so doing the dissertation and stuff that goes along around the outside of the whole PhD as well. Then I finished the PhD. I showed the novel around. I got an agent in London, and that was all very exciting, and it nearly got sold and published, and that was really exciting as well. And now things have gone a bit quiet.
Yeah.
So I thought it's best to do something with the book rather than just leave it sitting in a disk and a hard drive.
Yeah.
So I'm putting it out there myself and see if there are any takers for it.
This is where we are. Well, if anybody is interested in the prospect of the city, buy it online then? Online,
Amazon is the place to go to.
Okay.
It's in Kindle and in paperback format like that.
Yeah.
And there's a sample up there online for you to read if you like.
Brilliant.
And people seem to like it, which is really nice to see.
Great, well there you go. Well, thank you ever so much for coming in and talking to us about it, and we look forward to the next one.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emma.
You're watching Estuary News. Coming up later, we find out your views on air displays following the crash at Shoreham. And we visit the tall ship that graced Grimsby docks in the week. And we'll also bring you the latest local sports news. Going out is a simple pleasure that everyone should be able to enjoy, but it's been claimed that some disabled people are being let down in our area due to a lack of changing place facilities. With only 2 in Scunthorpe, it's putting carers of older disabled children and adults off from going out and could lead to social isolation. Normanby Hall has one of these changing place toilets, and we went there to meet Lorna Fillingham, who's hoping to capture government attention with a campaign for more of these facilities.
Like many people over the summer holidays, Lorna and her daughter enjoy trips to places like Normanby Hall. However, the lack of proper disabled toilet facilities is a real problem, which has forced Lorna to set up a campaign.
I've been lobbying the government to try and include changing places toilets, which are toilets with changing benches, hoists and lots of space in new public buildings, because currently I have a 5-year-old disabled child who I'm having to change on a baby change facility, and obviously she's beginning to outgrow that now, so I wanted to be able to change in better circumstances rather than on a toilet floor.
Current facilities simply aren't adequate. Carers are risking back injury changing children on toilet floors, which may be dirty with bodily fluids. The lack of changing place toilets is a real issue, with only 2 in Scunthorpe and 3 in Hull.
It is a very patchy surface all throughout the area, and it's really not good enough in 2015 that I'm actually having to fight for better toilet facilities for my daughter, and it's not just for my daughter. Like I say, it's for any other teenager and adult who finds themselves in a similar situation.
The local council is taking notice. While no one was available to interview, the council issued a statement saying, "A change of planning policy will need to go to a public consultation, but the council is committed to changing the rules to ensure planning permission will not be granted unless developers include these toilets in their plans." After success at local level, Lorna's next aim is to take the issue a step further to the national level and bring the issues surrounding the provision of changing place toilets to the government's attention.
Yes, I'm hoping to make it UK-wide. I have got an online petition on change.org, ensure equality of access to disabled toilets for all. That has got 1,600 signatures currently on it, and I'm getting more. And I have written to government. My local MPs have written to government ministers, and we're hoping to hear from them, because I'm hoping that the government will take the lead on this.
Still to come. We find out your views on air displays following the crash at Shoreham. And we sail along with a graceful tall ship, Alexander von Humboldt II. The terrible tragedy at Shoreham, which saw a Hawker Hunter aircraft crash into traffic, killing 11 people, has raised many questions about air displays over public spaces. The Civil Aviation Authority has announced that vintage jets will not be allowed to perform high-energy aerobatics over land as a result. We went to ask your opinion on whether air shows should be allowed to continue over land.
Yeah, because it's obviously not that dangerous, but obviously there's been a few recent incidents recently which would suggest maybe not. If it was in a different kind of entertainment spectacle, I guess it probably, someone else would have been done, like it maybe, they'd probably cancel it or something, so yeah, probably put it over the sea.
Usually, yeah, because there's safety guidelines in place and things. It's just accidents happen, don't they? So that's all really.
Well, I think they should still take place, but I think they should be careful about where they're doing that. You know, near that road was well, just awful for everybody, wasn't it? But yeah, I think they should still take place. I mean, people do enjoy them. I've enjoyed them in the past, so yes, but maybe think about the safety of people living nearby a bit more.
Well, yeah, I think that should. I mean, planes fly over all the time anyway, so I mean, people choose to go and watch air shows, don't they? So I enjoy the air shows now and then as well. So
yes, they should. Basically, they are a thing that a lot of people look forward to. And there's an accident. I know there's a lot of accidents anyway, but this is just an accident. Pilot error or accident.
Well, it's an hard question actually, because people do like air shows. I've got to admit myself, I love to go watch an aeroplane, but there's been a few crashes lately, so I think the safety aspect does need to be looked into a bit further. I really can't see stopping people from seeing the show, no. It's just upgrading on the safety aspect of it all.
Next weekend sees Grimsby Pride hold its annual music festival. The group is a non-profit organisation with the aim of raising awareness of the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender communities within North East Lincolnshire. Earlier in the week I spoke to Wayne Rees-Gorman, chairman of Grimsby Pride, and Will Wheaton Chapman, volunteer coordinator. Welcome both to the studio. Wayne, start with you. This event, you've been running it for 7 years now, haven't you?
Yeah, this is our 7th event, Emma. It started off as a concept by our vice chairman, Sean, and it was called The Event.
Right.
And it attracted 800 people, and it was held in the car park at the back of the old Venue Club.
Right.
And in Pasture Street, and we could see from that point of view, you could tell that there was an interest for our event. So then it rebranded itself as Grimsby Pride, and then moved to Meridian Park the following year.
Now that's one question I've heard maybe say: why Grimsby Pride? But you're in Cleethorpes. Why not Grimsby and Cleethorpes Pride? Am I just going to cause political trouble?
Our official charity name is North East Lincolnshire Pride.
Right.
But in terms of being a bit more snappy and what have you, for like promotion and what have you, it's stuck with Grimsby.
It's Grimsby Pride. Well, this year you've got another fantastic lineup. Just tell us, who can people expect to see?
Well, okay, we've got again some retaining acts. Our local partnership with Cast, and they always do us amazing numbers each year. So we're looking forward to seeing what they've created for 2015. And Bears Aloud, who were who've been with us from day one, they've reformed as a duo.
Okay.
So they will be launching themselves to the Grimsby audience for the first time this year as the Lady Bear of Leeds.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see how their routines changed and adapted as a twosome. And then we have got a new boy band called Remedy performing. We've got a couple of male soloists, Lucas Primer, a young lad who's got quite a good following from the Scunthorpe area called Smashby.
Okay.
And with our headliners this year are Charlie Healy from The Risk, and also Lloyd Daniels.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to end it there, but just to remind people then that Grimsby Pride is taking place at Cleethorpes Meridian Park on Saturday, September the 5th. Gates open at 11 o'clock, don't they? And it runs till 6. And people can buy tickets on the gate, can't they? Brilliant. Thank you ever so much for both coming in.
Thank you.
Fresh from the tall ship race in Amsterdam, the German ship Alexander von Humboldt II sailed to Grimsby. Based in Bremerhaven, Grimsby's twin town in Germany, the distinct vessel caused quite a stir as it sailed up the Humber.
A tall ship on the horizon, not a sight you see every day. People gathered in Humberston and Cleethorpes as well as at Grimsby Dock to see von Humboldt II cast its anchor for its overnight stay, hailing all the way from Bremerhaven in Germany, Grimsby's twin town. Chairman of the Town Twinning Association, Michael Landry, had a front row seat.
It's a magnificent ship. It's pity that the sails couldn't come down. But it was a little bit too windy out there, and hopefully do it next time. It's the second time this one's been here. Alexander von Humboldt II, number 1 came about 6 years ago, and that was a sight as well.
Being at sea isn't always easy, but the 25-strong crew weren't dissuaded from getting involved. They are nearly all volunteers.
They are taking vacation to work here, to do training for the trainees who maybe have never been on board a ship before, and some of them let a lifetime dream come true on board this ship.
And the ship is getting quite the fan base.
It is an amazing sight. I mean, we've been on the first Humboldt that was built. That was in Bremerhaven, because we used to go over for the sales every 5 years, and so we've always been interested in it.
Fresh from Amsterdam, where 100 historic ships gathered, this tall ship is now heading home, having put a smile on the faces of many. Erica Barker, Estuary TV.
Oh, what a beautiful ship she was. Now it's time for the sports news.
It's a big weekend for Hull KR. Head coach Chris Chester has named his 19-man squad for Saturday's Ladbrokes Challenge Cup final against defending Leeds Rhinos at Wembley. The Robins will look to lift the trophy for only the second time in the club's history. As Hull City get ready to face Preston North End at home on Saturday, the Tigers have completed the signing of Scottish international Sean Maloney from Major League Soccer side Chicago Fire. The 32-year-old midfielder has penned a 2-year deal and arrives for an undisclosed fee. Maloney began his career at Celtic and made over 100 appearances before earning a move to the English Premier League when signing for Aston Villa in 2007. Also on Saturday, Grimsby Town face Lincoln City. The Mariners' 8-year unbeaten run against the Imps came to an end last season as Chris Moyes' men recorded their first double over their county rivals since 1976. Scunthorpe United travel to Colchester hoping to get a first away win of the season after 2 draws and 2 defeats so far. And Ferriby faced Yorkshire rivals Bradford Park Avenue in the first of 2 bank holiday weekend fixtures. The Villagers will be looking to extend their 4-game unbeaten run. The last 3 games have ended as 1-1 draws. And that's the latest from the sports.
That's it for tonight. If you've a news story for us, then visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, or alternatively email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472 315 553. Until next time, goodbye.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Saturday are bright or sunny spells with scattered showers by the afternoon. The east seeing the best of the weather with highs of 20 degrees. Sunday will see more scattered showers with the occasional sunny spell.